My name is Dawn Luckowitz. I'm a NASM certified personal trainer, a precision nutrition coach, the owner of Epic Redemption Coaching, and a co-founder of The Clear Planner. Today, I want to talk about conquering cravings. This is a topic that has come up time and again with my individual training clients, and it's been increasingly coming up in conversations with women that I encounter on a daily basis. So I thought this was a timely topic. The key isn't to actually eliminate cravings altogether. And unfortunately, willpower and self-discipline aren't what's going to make you successful in this cravings game. The trick is actually going to be to understand your cravings, where they're coming from, why they're there, and then have a game plan on how you're going to handle them. You want to make sure that you're digging into the root of your cravings. Now, cravings and hunger are two different things, and I've already done a training on the difference between the two. That can be found on my blog at epicredemption.com. I'll also make sure that I link that in here. But the quick basic difference for the purposes of this training is that hunger is that physical need for food, that physical need that your body has for food, while cravings are going to be psychological. Now, what's going to affect your psychology, what's going to be making you crave? There's a lot of reasons that you might be craving, and it's why it's going to be so important to try to take inventory and track what you're doing. Lack of sleep, lack of hydration, when you're stressed, when your emotions are all over the place, when your hormones are off, when you're cycling, it's that time of the month, if you're pregnant, if you're eating too many processed foods, all of these things can add to your cravings. I do want to highlight that processed foods. I want to remind you that food companies out there put things in your food because they want you to crave them. They want you to keep coming back. The more of those foods you eat, the more you crave those foods. So trying to limit the amount of processed foods you have is going to be very helpful in those particular cravings. When we give into cravings, we create a cycle that not only increases our cravings, but it reinforces our behavior to continue giving into them. When you have the urge, when you have that craving, you then look for food to satisfy it. Once you've eaten that food, your body actually releases dopamine, which is your reward for eating the food that you were craving. Now that you know that you get that reward, the next time you crave, you're going to want to eat that food so that you can feel that high again. We have to break this cycle. How do we do that? We need to interrupt the patterns. We need to figure out what those patterns are so that we can interrupt them. Cravings are often brought on by environmental cues. When you see, when you smell, when you taste, you might find yourself craving. When you're in certain locations or you're around certain people, you might notice that you crave different things. So tracking when and where you are when your cravings are happening can be very helpful. Now, this is going to sound like a lot of work, but if you truly want to change those cravings, if you truly want to work on that, you might want to keep a little diary and figure out what's paying attention. This way you can make the adjustments to your environment so that you can disrupt that habit cycle. Some of the things, if you do want to track, that you want to pay attention to and take note of are, what are you craving? Are you craving a specific food, a certain flavor, a certain texture? Where are you? You want to make sure you note the location, but also what's around you. What do you see? What do you smell? Are there visual cues like a restaurant billboard, or are you watching TV and is it a commercial? Pay attention to what you're doing. Are you getting cravings while you're driving, while you're at work? Are you watching TV? Note how you're feeling physically. Do you feel shaky, lightheaded? Are you tense? How are you feeling emotionally? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you cranky? Are you rushed? Again, note these things. If the pattern isn't obvious, as you're tracking it, it will become clearer. Typically, you're going to notice a pattern of some kind. I have a client that craves Cheetos. She eats them at night. That is her thing. She thinks she's addicted to them. She wants them. Now, we know the pattern. We know what's happening. She's not quite ready to interrupt the pattern. But for her, she doesn't crave Cheetos all day long. It's at night. It's when she's finished with dinner. She's relaxing. She goes to a particular place and she's reading. And that's when she feels like she needs to have the Cheetos. Now, if she's ready to interrupt that pattern, we would introduce something else. Maybe there's something else that happens before she reads the book. Maybe she moves the location of reading that book. Maybe she changes the time she's reading the book. But once we identify the pattern, we can now come up with ways to disrupt it. There are a few strategies that you can use to disrupt the pattern. You can stop and delay. You can distract. You can make sure you're eating the right things during the day. And sometimes you just need to indulge, and we're going to talk about these. When you feel a craving, when you know there's something you're craving, stop yourself, delay yourself, hold off, give yourself at least 5 minutes. If you're in that office meeting and those donuts are calling your name, wait 5 minutes. Assess yourself. Are you actually hungry? Are you bored? Are you stressed? Are you procrastinating? One of the ways that you can tell whether or not you're actually hungry is, does real food, not that donut, sound appealing to you? If real food sounds appealing, you might be hungry. But if the only thing that sounds appealing to you in that moment is that donut, that's a craving. Now, you may still end up eating that donut after you've delayed for 5 minutes, but just that act of stopping, delaying, recognizing and identifying that pattern is going to help you break that pattern in the future. Maybe next time you can go a little longer. Maybe sometimes you forego that donut entirely, but just being aware and recognizing is going to be really helpful. Distraction. Distraction is huge because that's absolutely going to be a way to interrupt your pattern. If you can keep your mind and body busy and moving, you're not thinking about that craving. Again, it's psychological. So if we can move on to something different, it's going to help us move away from giving into that craving, hence keep, breaking that cycle from continuing. You want to make sure that you're eating the right foods during the day. And this, you may not realize that you're not eating enough or you're not eating enough of the right things, especially if you find that your cravings are mostly at night. Often those with strong cravings at night aren't eating enough of the right things throughout the day. The kind of things you want to make sure that you're eating throughout the day so that you're not having these cravings at night are going to be a lot of fiber, especially from low-calorie vegetables. Those are going to help fill you up. And then by adding some protein in, it's going to keep you fuller longer in between meals. This makes eating a combination of nutrients in good portions throughout the day key to regulating your appetite. You also might need to eat more at your meals. If you find yourself craving in mid-afternoon, like 3:30, you might not be eating enough at your lunch. I've had clients that we had to work through this. They were trying to shortcut the system, right? They were trying to, in their mind, eat less carbs. So they weren't necessarily eating a good, solid, healthy carb at lunch. They were trying to eliminate that. Well, when they eliminated that, they found themselves hungry and oftentimes craving, where if they added a sweet potato at lunch, now they were fuller. They didn't feel like they were hungry. And oftentimes that satisfied the cravings that they were having. So pay attention to what you're eating and when those cravings are coming. You might just need to be eating a little more, or you might need to just be eating a little more of the right things. Now, there are going to be some times that you just have to indulge. Cravings are a part of life. Sometimes by giving into that craving, you're setting yourself up for better success later. For example, I've cut out pizza from my world before. I cut it out for a long period of time. Well, the problem was when I did finally give in, because we will finally give in, I overdid it. I went over the top, overboard, ate an entire pizza instead of indulging every once in a while on a little bit. So you need to kind of think about some of those things. There are some examples that we can use that I want to share that some have come from other precision nutrition coaches, but some things to think about and talk through. Are you really craving a chocolate bar, right? Think about it. If you want chocolate, choose a higher quality, pricier chocolate. And when you eat it slowly. Savor it. I know it seems counterintuitive sometimes to tell you to eat the chocolate, but if you're eating the good stuff, if you're savoring it, you're going to be less likely to overeat it and add more of it in. Research is actually showing that to be the case. Now, Krista Scott Dixon, she's a PhD with Precision Nutrition. She's a director of curriculum, and she tells her clients they can have any snack they want, but it has to be purchased right before they eat it from a grocery store that's 15 minutes away. Now, talk about a pattern interruption. So if I really want Oreos, I can have them, but I have to eat them like from a store that's 15 minutes away. I can't just have them here. What she discovered is that half the time people decide it's not worth it. Like, I might want an Oreo, but it is not worth getting in a car and driving 15 minutes. Also, they found that clients that do set out for the grocery store, by the time they get there, they're not necessarily craving it anymore. The craving's gone. So think about that. That might be an extreme way to handle cravings, but if yours are really intense and you want to handle them, that might be a trick. Another trick from a Precision Nutrition Master Coach is he tells his clients they can eat whatever they want, but they have to make it. So for example, if you are craving a potato chip, you've got to actually slice the potatoes and make them like homemade. They're not necessarily like super healthy. They're of course healthier than if you had the chips. But if you're willing to go through that time and effort and energy to have it, then he's saying go right ahead. A suggestion: keep those ready to eat temptations out of your house and out of your office space. It's going to help you. Something that I don't realize I crave until I see it are Oreos. Every time I go to my parents' house, there's Oreos on the counter. I see them, I smell them, I eat them. I don't have Oreos in my house because that I know for sure is a trigger for me. So try to keep some of those ready to eat temptations away from you. Now, a lot of people want to know about junk food alternatives. I had this question come up recently in a group that I was running. I'm craving something. I want something. I want a better option. What about these? And I was getting a whole bunch of things thrown my way. Well, sometimes those quote unquote healthy substitutes, right? We see them in the stores. They will cause you to actually overeat later. Sometimes you're better off giving into the, bad quote unquote chocolate bar than going for, a sugar-free chocolate bar. Because a lot of times those quote unquote healthy substitutes are those processed things. They're the chemical things. They're using artificial sweeteners that are actually causing you to crave more later. They're not filling you up. And while it might meet that craving in that moment, it's going to cause you to overeat later. Where if you just ate the really good piece of chocolate that you wanted to begin with, you're better off for the day. So you want to think about some of those things. Some of those alternatives aren't going to be the best option for you. Sometimes the real thing is. So when it comes to indulging, that's one of the things you want to think about. Decide if you want the real thing. Sometimes you want ice cream. You're better off, if you can do it, have, half a cup of the Ben & Jerry's versus an entire pint of the fake stuff. The fake stuff might be less calories, but the other chemicals and the other things that are being put in it might cause you to overeat later. If you can enjoy the real thing in a sensible portion and actually enjoy it, following some simple things, savor it. Try to stop when you're 80% full, right? Enjoy the experience. Then maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you do want to go for that real thing. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you want to satisfy your craving with just a healthier substitute. Maybe there is a healthier substitute out there that you can swap in. I'm going to give you a list of recipes. They came from Precision Nutrition. There's 16 recipes. There's a little bit of everything. You've got some drinks, you've got some sweets, you've got some salty stuff, you've got some crunchy things. There's foods if you're craving fast food, bar food. So I'm going to link that for you to give you some healthy alternatives, but sometimes that's going to be all you need. I hope that this was helpful to you. I hope this gives you some things to think about when it comes to your cravings. The biggest thing is going to be identifying those triggers, figuring out what's happening, when it's happening, and what ways can you interrupt those patterns. Interrupting those patterns is going to be the game plan. Then always figuring out, delaying, distracting. Again, very key, very important. If you're going to give in, think about, are you going to give in to the real thing? Do you need a healthier alternative? What does that look like? Think some of these things through. If you're struggling, if you have questions, if you just want to chat a little bit more, I would love for you to reach out. You can get me at my email, dawn@epicredemptionfitness.com. You can reach out to me on Facebook at Epic Redemption Coaching, or you can just look up Dawn Lukowitz. I'm the only one on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Dawn Lukowitz, or the other option that I will also link for you is if you want to talk specifically about your fitness, your nutrition, and a game plan for success, you'll want to schedule a transformation analysis call. This is an opportunity for us to get to know each other. It's an opportunity for us to talk about your goals, talk about what's not working for you in this moment, what obstacles are in your way, and together come up with a game plan for your success. So if you want to take advantage of that call, make sure you go to bit.ly/transformation analysis call. Again, I will link that for you. Again, I hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments. Have a great one.